For a wonderful and a beautiful bhajan towards the end. So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Let's get started. Looking for another engaging session today. We are talking about Karta, Akarta, who's the doer, that concept. So, we will continue to build on that today. Let me share my screen and we will get underway. Are you able to see my screen?
Ji, you can see that.
Okay, let it come on this presentation mode. So we'll get started with our opening prayers like we always do. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurue Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome. So let's get started with our session today with our Soul Soup segment, where we are doing the mind management series, the new series that we have started, Science of Mind Management. So mind has the potential, as we saw through Bhagavad Gita Shlok reference as well. It has the potential. It can be our best friend or our worst enemy, right? It really depends on right now the state that we are in. It's not our best friend. It will lead us to things that are not good for our growth, spiritual growth or inner growth usually, unless we have trained it. Now let's look at this. Tom and Jerry, which one looks more happier one? So courtesy Abhaji, this is a very good picture, and it talks about the best buddies, controlled mind. If you have a controlled mind, that becomes your best buddy. And if you do not have a controlled mind, that is what we have on the other side. Now, let's understand this. This mind is a very important aspect, right? Our scriptures had laid a lot of importance on it because this whole game is the game of mind only. There's nothing else actually. Only this game is of mind only. Now, when our mind it generates a lot of thoughts, and when our mind is rested, like in deep sleep, we say, ah, we had a good experience. I slept very peacefully, or I did not experience anything. And at that state, we experience some kind of a bliss because that's when you get into a state of um, not thinking much. The noise is cut out from the mind. And some people experience it, when they say, when they dance, they experience that because now your mind has kind of getting emptied and maybe focus or concentrated on the task at hand or the act that you are in. And both happiness and distress is actually a reflection of a state of our mind. Let's say somebody's upset, it's in a miserable mood. Now you go and tell them a good news or a happy thought, automatically a smile would come, right? That can lighten their mood. Or on the other side, a person is in a good mood and you convey bad news to them, and then they will become miserable at that point, right? There's a possibility that they may be overcome by grief or sadness at that point. So if we could somehow cultivate or train our mind to be cheerful, how nice would it be? Everybody strives for that, right? How nice that state would be. And I think one of the philosophers, John Milton, had said that the mind has a place of its own. It can make a heaven out of hell or hell out of heaven. That is how powerful our mind is. Now, the interesting thing about this, we keep on looking out, for enemies outside. That okay, this person is like that, and he's opposing me, and the enmity that we have with people around. But the fact of the matter is, the scriptures tell us that the biggest foes they reside in our own mind only. What are these biggest foes? The lust, anger, greed, envy, and illusion. These are all residing in our mind only. Now think about it. Now if somebody hurts you, let's say somebody throws a stone at you, it may hurt for a few minutes, but then by the next day you would probably would have forgotten about it, right? The pain part of it subsides anyways. But if someone says something unpleasant, it can agitate you for years. Why? Because now your mind is unable to get rid of those thoughts. That is how powerful our mind is. And that hellish misery that we can be subjected to because of these things, the foes that are within us, could be terrible, and it can last for years. So these are more dangerous than the outer enemies because these have the ability to make every living moment of our life a living hell. So if you don't tend to your mind and you don't have some kind of a ways or means to cultivate or harbor a cheerful attitude, then this can actually bring about this can actually lead to a very miserable life. They are dangerous because somebody says bad thing to you. I mean, it could be something, not says, does, then that can, that effect could be gone. But if you continue to harbor that, like in form of resentment, it can go on for years. And if you are living with these enemies and you are making them more and more stronger, then every living moment can become a hell. As you would have seen, people get into, all kind of thought patterns once they start um, thinking more of the negative emotions that could trouble anybody, right? So that is where the mind management becomes it's of utmost importance in today's life, or even from a spiritual perspective as well, because only through fixing our mind can we progress spiritually. And antakaran shuddhi, which is a ethereal mind that we are talking about, Lord Krishna spoke about mind management in Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years back. There are tons of books available on it. Swamiji has written a beautiful book, Science of Mind Management, that we will take inspiration from to create these nuggets or present it to you with numerous scriptural references to it as well. So today we will end it at that. Let's just appreciate the fact that we have an opportunity to make our mind our friend. And if we can do that, then that would be a huge favor and the best gift one can give to themselves. Now let's move on to our shloka. We'll continue to build on this. I'm going to recite it and we'll take three hands like we always do. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapanshwasan pralapan visrijan grihnan उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते धारयन्. All right, so for the three, go ahead, Sandhya.
Sandhya, Radhe Radhe.
Aparna ji didn't get a chance yesterday, so we'll pick her up today as well. Go ahead.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्वत पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रहन् अश्नान् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. Let's take two more hands. Aparna ji, you didn't get a
Aparna ji,
chance
Radhe Radhe.
yesterday. Aparna ji, let's give Aparna ji.
Aparna ji, we can't hear you.
Aparna ji, you are saying something, but we can't hear you. Okay, let's move on quickly. Let's take the next hand.
Shiramya, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe.
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववेत् पश्यान् शृण्वान् स्पृशन् जिङ्घ्रान् अश्नान् गच्छान् स्वपञ्श्वसान् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयान्. Thank you.
Wonderful, Shriramya. Did you ever think you would recite it so fluently? At least I never thought, okay, I'm trying to do that as well. So very well done. Thank you. Let's take maybe one more hand and then Aparna ji, is your audio fixed now?
Aparna ji, can you hear us?
See you smiling, but not can't
We can't
hear.
hear you. Okay.
Okay, let's take, okay, it's a toss-up between Riya ji and Lakshmi ji. All yours prerogative. Please go ahead, Shyam ji.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Okay. Lakshmi ji,
Radhe
stand.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियान् इन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
Very nice, thank you. Let's move on. Lakshmi ji, you get first preference tomorrow. Or you want to really go? Okay, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिह्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेषु Vartanta iti dharayan.
Very nice. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Very well done. Okay, so let's get started. Those steadfast in Karam Yoga always think I'm not the doer, even while engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, moving, sleeping, breathing, speaking, creating, grasping, and opening or closing the eyes. With the light of divine knowledge, they see that it is only the material senses that are moving amongst their objects. It's a pretty interesting concept. I'll try to bring in a few more analogies to drive home the point today, but let's move on. So there are two kinds of doers we spoke about. One is the energy provider, and which is called Prayojak Karta, one he who provides the energy like a powerhouse, and then the one is the energy utilizer. So one is Prayojya Karta, one is Prayojak Karta. And the soul is also energized by super soul, and then what you do basically, we looked at this analogy of tongs being energized by hand, and then you can maneuver it around. Now let me try to explain it through another analogy so that we can appreciate this concept a little more. Now when we are sleeping, do we know who's running our body? So many functions are happening automatically in our body. Right? For example, sleeping, not sleeping is happening, but when we are sleeping, the breathing is happening all by itself. Do you have to consciously breathe? You don't have to consciously breathe. Now you say, what's a big deal in breathing? It is a big deal. Okay, there is something called Ondine's curse. I don't know how many of you know that. Ondine's curse is actually a congenital central hypoventilation syndrome, in which it's a rare neurological disorder where it is characterized by inadequate breathing during sleep, and in severely affected individuals during waking periods as well. Okay, when they are waking up. So just imagine you have to consciously breathe. Now, how's it happening? Isn't it a big deal that so many things, including breathing, is happening subconsciously in our body? When you pop in food, you gulp it, chew it, and then something happens in your food pipe, the compression, decompression, the bile juice, and then all the system is automated. Who's moving that? When you are sleeping, your body is being run by somebody. It's run automatically. Okay. Now, you know how much work is happening in our body when we are sleeping? 40 factories worth of work is happening in our body when we are sleeping. And if that sound were to be produced, right? The sound that is produced through that much of work, it will create a noise 1 mile down the line. That much work is happening quietly. Who's doing that work? But just because something is automated does not mean that it is out of control. Something is automated does not mean it is out of control. All it means is we are not aware who's in control. Okay, just think about it, how magical it is. Even the fact that our body functions are all automated. If every function we were to do consciously, it would be a terrible existence. Now, who is the doer of that Prakriti? And who is the Adhyaksh, superintendent, or the boss of Prakriti? God. Okay, so people who are in elevated consciousness, they understand their Gyan Indriyas, Karam Indriyas, they're actually operating under material energy, and the God is the supreme energizer for that. Now, Karta, we are the Karta. We are talking about we are the doer and yet not the doer. We are Karta, but we are not Swatantra Karta. That means we are not independent Karta. We are energized by God. And because of it, we are Bharta also. Okay, it's not the Bharta that we prepare. Bharta means we have to pay the price for it. If we don't utilize it properly through our free will, then we are Bharta. And that's what we are doing. We are paying the price for it in form of binding karma. So either when you utilize that energy for with the spirit of Karam Yoga, then it is liberating. Otherwise, it is binding. So you are Karta, you are the doer, but you are not an independent doer. There is energy that is being provided to you. That energy would be provided to you regardless. Okay. But then there is a price tag to it, which is in form of law of karma, and which is in form of the what you have to bear basically. It becomes your part of your karmic cycle, as part of your kriyaman karma, and then your sanchit karma, prarabdha, and prarabdha for future life and all that stuff. Now let's move on. Prayojak karta, prayojya karta, we spoke about it. We spoke about this beggar example as well, that you could be exercising your, either you are going by your gunas, what your gunas are telling you to do at any given point in time, or you could override it or transcend your guna by choosing your free will. Both options are available to us at every moment of life. So basically, if you think about it, everything in life gives us an opportunity to either stay where we are, go down, or elevate ourselves. That opportunity is always there. All three options are available to us. Do you want to maintain a status quo on our soul, which is maintaining a status quo on our spiritual journey? Do you want to elevate ourselves, cut a corner spiritually, or do we want to degrade ourselves? All options are available to us at all times. And only when we are fully surrendered through practicing Karam Yoga, Karam Yoga is a great way to increase our surrender, or not only inculcate the spirit of surrender, but to practice it on a day-to-day basis as well. Then God takes control. Until then, we are doing it. God might be taking control from time to time. See, it's like, think of it. If God has to help, he will not manifest himself. And he will not, even if he manifests, we'll not be able to see him. We don't have the divine vision as yet. So what he'll do is, he will pick one of us and get that job done. If he has to help somebody, he might inspire you from within and say, hey, this guy seems really, in need of help. It has happened, a lot of times. I'm sure it would have happened to you as well. Go help him out. You don't know why you're helping that person, but you just feel inspired. That is called divine inspiration. And that is how God gets his work done. And he gets those work done even for the larger good of humanity as well. For example, from time to time, he sends people, people who do innovations and stuff like that, Nobel laureates, and for that matter, technology unification, all that. He might inspire somebody to get something big accomplished. And then if you have the pride, then it's a problem. So those are the opportunities or the instances when we give the credit back to God. But then most of the times we will mess it up because of our imperfect senses, mind, and intellect. And in those cases, we take the blame on ourselves that we are not yet perfect. We are not fully surrendered. So God, all bad on me, all good on you. Okay, that is the spirit we need to have as we practice Karam Yoga. Okay. So let's move on. So there is one verse in three Upanishads, Shvetashwar, Mundak, and Kathopanishad. Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So Lord is the chief individual entity, the leader of the subordinate living entities. He's the boss basically. Okay, let's just accept it. Now he's the as you see, he's residing within our soul, the Paramatma aspect of it. He's playing his flute, we can't hear it, but he's there. And that feeling, we need to keep on deepening that feeling. And soul is eternal, not because of the itself, but because Bhagavan is sitting inside and making it eternal. On ourselves, we have no basis at all, right? Now, we say that we are part of the ocean, I think this question came up, we are part of the ocean, then knowing ourselves, can't we know God? The answer is no. Why? Because although we are part of the big ocean, so we are H2O plus NaCl, which is salt. H2 is water. So you taste a drop, then you don't need to taste the entire ocean. But by knowing a drop, you cannot know the expanse and the depth of the ocean. Can you row a boat inside a drop? You cannot. So Atma Gyan is less than Brahma Gyan, and Brahma Gyan is less than God realization. Okay, that's a bit of a controversial statement, I guess, deep rooted, but yeah. So Atma Gyan, Brahma Gyan, and Bhagavad Gyan, all three are different. Atma Gyan is at a very limited level, and then the Brahma Gyan, you have to surrender to God for that, right? Which is basically goes for people who want to go for moksha. And Bhagavad God realization is when you realize God in his personal form. So, anyways, so God is seated within us. Even for a moment, our personality, if he leaves even for a second, our personality would cease to be. Okay, that is how tightly knit bond we have with the God. He's maintaining our very basis of identity itself. Now, however, providing energy is different from providing this decision. Just because he's providing the energy, that does not mean that comes with a decision as well. That, I'm giving you this energy, but you have to do as I'm telling you. He's not saying that. Even in Bhagavad Gita, after giving all the gyan to Arjun, Lord Krishna, you know what he says? Yathechasi tatha kuru. Now, as you think is appropriate or right, so shall you do. He's not saying, I am God. I've told you so many things. Now you better listen to me. No, he's just leaving it to their free will. Now you use your discernment, vivek, prudence, buddhi, and decide what is good for you. I can only arm you with knowledge. So similarly, he's giving you energy. That doesn't mean he's going to control the decision as well around it. So we say, right, so many bad things happen in this world when God is seated inside you. Everything is getting noted, and it will catch up. Law of karma never misses its date. We might miss our date, but law of karma never. It always catches up with you, and it is a perfect justice dispensing system that we are in, and it never misses its date. This is how it works. Now, the soul is not the doer, because we have spoken about it, that actions are being driven by the body, mind, and intellect. So that pride is misplaced. In fact, it is one of the most unholy things. It takes us further away from God when we start building that pride. Because we have to understand the powerhouse is somebody else, right? Powerhouse is somebody else. The day we perfect ourselves, our free will be perfectly aligned with God, then powerhouse will take control. Until then, without that powerhouse, you cannot continue to take credit for yourself. So the best way to look at it is, good thing, credit back to God, bad thing, take blame for on yourself, because it's our free will that is coming into picture, and that free will is tainted with our imperfect senses, mind, intellect, and our erroneous knowledge, which is not yet perfect. Okay. So that is why the soul has becomes the bhokta. It has to bear that baggage. It is like that powerhouse. Now you can use this powerhouse either to, if you look at the nuclear energy, nuclear, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of debate going on in nuclear energy, right? Whether Bharat should go for it or not. So there's another anagram for nuclear is unclear. It was not very clear why it is good or bad. So the point here is, either you can use it for weapons for mass destruction, or you can use it for productive ways as well, to generate electricity and to support such a big population, right? As long as you can harness that energy. So the God conscious Karma yogis, they are able to overcome this feeling. The Prakriti part, they understand it's all Prakriti. Like I explained you the example, our body functions, they're all automated. You don't have to do anything. Breathing, it's happening all by itself. Digestion is happening all by itself. When we are sleeping, so many functions are happening within our body. We have no idea. We have no control. It's automated. but that doesn't mean it's out of control. That all that means is we are not aware who's in control. And our scriptures, and then the Karam Yogs, when you start progressing, then these material things also starts becoming visible to you. The material entity, how it operates, the prakriti aspect, those kind of, it's part of the journey to enlightenment as well. And then you start understanding this all is driven by God. This material energy, the boss of that is God, and you are simply going through the motions here in life, right? They're all controlled by that. All you have control over is your free will aspect of it, that you continue to purify, and hope that it starts aligning with God's will to the best of your ability. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
Yeah. So, one question was regarding this Swatantra action aspect that you mentioned. So,
We
if
are karta, but we are not swatantra karta. That means we don't have an energy of our own. We are relying on God's energy. So we are allowed to do things, but then there are consequences. So we are not swatantra karta like God. God, whatever he does, of course, he will do perfect things only, but we are not swatantra karta because we are dependent on his energy to perform every action.
so, but if we say that, let's assume that his energy is going to be there, then beyond that point, we are having free will to exercise and utilize that energy. So, from that perspective, if we take that energy into consideration, then we are Swatantra in
No,
terms.
free will, yeah. Free will. Now you can say you are swatantra karta, yeah, he's given you independence, but in another way, it's like there's a rope which is tying you, like whatever you do, there will be repercussions. It's not like you do and no matter what you do, you're free. So it is free will, but that free will comes with terms and conditions apply, kind of a deal, right? Yeah, so it is pretty expensive actually if you think about it, if you're not able to align it. Yes, Samiran, you had a question too?
Yeah, Radhe,
Radhe
everyone.
Radhe.
I wanted to ask that about doership. When there is when we think that God is the doer and He is the supreme enjoyer, but still when we entangle with some of the thing, like for example, we ate a tasty cake or something, the senses start feeling, or we start feeling that, oh, it was so tasty, I enjoyed a lot. So is that statement binds us that I am the bhokta, or I'm feeling happy or I'm feeling sad in any consequences. So how do we how can we like step ahead from that feeling?
See, we
Feeling.
are in a conditioned state right now, so we would. In fact, they say when you do bhakti, there would be a stage. At least I haven't reached that. I have my own secret stash around eating stuff and cloud. There would be a stage where even the sense of taste becomes irrelevant. Okay, you eat food because you know you have to maintain this material body. For now, it's fine. We can cut a bit of a slack to ourselves to enjoy rasgulla and cake or whatever it is. But that is more. But the better way of going about it is offer it to God and have it as a remnant, as his prasad. That will start purifying our senses. But that's fine. We can cut our slips. That's why Karam Yoga is important, right? That will help us purify our senses and thought process around every act that we do. If you are preparing a cake just so that you can enjoy it for yourself, it's a rajasic consciousness. But let's say you are preparing it, say I'm going to offer it to God, offer him as a prasad and then have it as a, then you are already started building that consciousness, which will start transcending that rajasic aspect more into sattva and gunatit. So it's a bit of a journey there. But in the state of bhakti, if you keep on advancing beyond a point, it doesn't matter what you are eating. I mean, you will say what kind of a boring existence that would be, but that is how it goes. You simply understand this. You are just maintaining and sustaining this. The goal is something different. So even the taste takes a back seat at that point. Okay, but those are some stages and milestones on the path of devotion itself. Okay, good question though. Now let's move on. Sage Vashisht advised Lord Ram, Karta Bahir Karta. So basically, he said that from external, you engage in actions diligently, but internally practice to see yourself as the non-doer. Don't take credit as a doer for that, because God is the prime mover of all of your activities. Now, this has to be understood. Prime mover means he's giving the energy, is not controlling the decision that you are doing. Decision is still with us. Okay. When you're fully surrendered, then he takes your decision making ability as well, because he sits in your buddhi at that point. He says, right, I actually become your buddhi and man at that point. It becomes divine at that point. So Now, if you look at it in divine consciousness, the Karam yogis see themselves as mere instruments in the hands of God. Even though, okay, there was a guy, I think, behind, but you are merely an instrument in the hand of. So, do you see a guy, another legs are there? I hope you can see them. So, that person, you just would envision himself only as a mere being instrument of God at that point. Okay. Now, let me tell you a story. How can we get, what is that? How do we can an upgrade? Okay, I don't know who wrote that English. I wrote it. But yeah, you understand the typo there, right? I'm not a Ren and Martin guy anyways. So now here's a guy. So this old man, he's a farmer. He came from a village. He had a big farm of his own. And he's a pretty rich guy, in his village. But the first time he came to the city, so when he came to the city, he sees an elevator. And when he sees an elevator, he sees a old woman getting into the elevator. And then after a while, elevator moves up, right? And shortly afterwards, the elevator comes down. And when the elevator comes down, there's another woman who comes out, the young woman. Okay. So he calls his son. He says, I want to see your mother and I want to put her in this machine. So the point is, he thought that this machine actually upgrades. Okay. This machine is going to upgrade whatever you're going to put into it. So Karam Yoga brings about similar kind of an upgrade or a transformation. But this transformation is from within. So when you start inculcating the spirit of Karam Yoga in your day-to-day living and uh, everything you start relating to God, whether it is cooking, whether it is cleaning, whether it is working, whether it's earning money, whether it's this will start upgrading you from within. And that upgrade is a very welcome upgrade that you can relish and enjoy yourself for, because it will start going to free you up from that material consciousness, from your anxiety, insecurity, all that stuff, and that bliss you will start it because you're going to free up your mind rather than getting bogged down with the mundane things that can normally trouble people. So this is how Karam Yoga works. And what is Karam Yoga? Where you bring in God into the mix for everything rather than keeping the focal point of your life as self-enjoyment. You do it for a bigger purpose, right? Serving God and Guru, thinking of what would please them. We'll fail, but the key thing is to pick ourselves up and again try harder next time around. And should not get disheartened by feeling, because we are in a conditioned state. So it's not going to be a straightforward journey or a slam dunk, as they call it. It's going to be besieged with a lot of obstacles. Our conditioned mind will play tricks. We may fall down, but the important thing is to keep picking up on that, bring the knowledge back and retry. Okay, that is how the journey needs to unfold. So with that said, let me pose some questions here. Window versus mirror. Are we perfect? Why doesn't God bear our karmic reaction if he's energizing it as well? Is God partial, choosing people selectively to do good or bad things? And why do we need do's and don'ts, nisheds in our scriptures? Any question you can pick up or any question you have regarding what we have spoken about today? I'll open it up now. By the way, I wanted to let you know tomorrow's session has to be cancelled because we have Swamiji's Angels meeting. So you're welcome to join that, where we are collectively as a Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita team. We have a lot of new people who have joined us and signed up as angels as well. And the existing angels, they have renewed their commitment because Swamiji's dream project is to build that university, which is going to be pretty awesome and is going to turn out to be, the hub of Vedic wisdom in years to come. So we have a unique chance to make a history and please our Guru for all that we have gotten from him. So for that, we have a meeting tomorrow around the same time. So tomorrow's session, whatever is supposed to be covered tomorrow, will move one day further, which includes the discussion that we're going to have, maybe a concluding discussion on this topic, and our spiritual cash-up session as well. That will happen on Thursday. Case study will briefly touch upon the key takeaways from the previous one, but we'll pick it up next week. Okay, with that, I'll open it up. Any questions related to what we have spoken about or any questions that you see on the screen? Pin drop silence. Okay. Yes, Sandhya, thank you for breaking that. Go ahead. Yes, Abhaji. All right, let's ask Abhaji. You raised hand, but you cannot change your mind afterwards. Go ahead. Please.
So, Radhe Radhe, in the question where you say choosing people selectively to do good or bad things, so if something bad is happening, like say in the family, like there's a dispute of money, right? And people stop talking. Does God also put you in that situation sometimes, right? Where you sometimes families break up, for example's sake, right? Because situations happen where argument over whatever, right? So is God putting you in that situation because of your bad past karmic reactions or past lives, whatever you've done, and testing your knowledge to upgrade you? I don't know. Are you put in situations for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Can ask Swamiji this question, but based on whatever little I have understood around this is that of course it's a custom picked or hand picked course for each one of us in each one of our lives by God only, because he picks a drop of prarabdha, right? Based on the lessons we need to learn, he orchestrates it, the karmic debts and all that stuff in a manner that you learn your lessons, learn something out of it, and then move on in your spiritual journey ahead. So part of it is dictated by our karmas, prarabdha, and what he has chosen for us. And part of it could be dictated by somebody exercising their free will as well, right? In a different way, because their Kriyaman could be contributing to the situation as well. The point here is that we will never get to know. It's very difficult to know. Is it part of the baggage we have acquired from our past lives, some debt that had to be settled, or is it something which is happening because of the exercise of the free will in this life? It's very difficult to know that. Same thing like a disease for that matter, right? Somebody is not well. Not well, I'm saying, let's say you're born in a family with a predisposition to diabetes or some kind of a disease. But did you control it? You don't control that. If you have that predisposition, that is one of the levers probably Brahmaji used in our DNA sequencing or whatever to give us as part of the prarabdha. So one is called karmaj, which is born out of our past thing that we have inherited. One is called doshaj, which is based out of the choices that we are making in our current life. So if somebody's eats a lot of sweets and have a sedentary lifestyle and they don't exercise and they're stressed and they're worrying always, they could acquire diabetes as well, right? So we would never come to know, is it something which was part of the deal that I was handed because of some of the lessons that I had to learn, or is it because of somebody's interference of some free wills not exercised in the right manner? Could be anything. The key thing is to have a right mindset, utilizing every opportunity for our personal growth, inner growth, as opposed to getting bitter, resentful about that situation. Because everything poses an opportunity for us to, go for our inner growth, and that is the key thing. That is how I would see that, because it's very difficult to know what is part of our past thing and what is part of our, the free will aspect of it in this life.
Okay. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
So that was a long-winded, convoluted answer to your simple question. Hope it kind of made a bit of sense. Okay. But if there's one more part of it, I think there is a situation that we talk about, right? People say that, why does it happen to me only? Relationship after relationship, people after people, situation after situation, right? So if you're stuck with a bad neighbor, next you change your place and the next neighbor is even more bad, and then the next is even more bad, or you come across people whom you think are always victimizing you, your boss is always bad, you find the most meanest people to work with or interact with. So if a situation is repeating in our life multiple times, there's a pattern, then it is a pretty good signal that we are not learning our lesson. It's like the same class, even in the material world, we are made to repeat the same class when we fail. So if something is repeating with us, there's a pretty good reason to believe that we are not learning our lesson around it. And that is why it is repeating with us over and over and over again. The day we learn the lesson, the situation will ease out around us. That is something which is orchestrated by God, so that we learn our lessons around it. So regardless, we need to have a good thought process around how to process what is happening around us, and that can only be enabled through proper knowledge, so the scriptural knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita teachings, and reading stuff that actually helps us understand things as they are, not as they seem. Okay, next, we can take the next one. So again,
Sandhya,
reiterate, tomorrow there's no session. You're welcome to join Swamiji's Angels meeting. Please fill out the feedback tracker as well, because this is a very interesting topic. And 2 months down the line, again, it will confuse you who's the doer. So if you have any questions, doubts, you can contemplate upon it and then write it out so that we can have a good discussion to understand this concept once and for all for the rest of eternity. Yes.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. So one thing I heard from Maharajji today only in regard to this Ansh discussion, like we are part of God. So he says that we are not direct part of God. We are part of one of his energies, and that is why we are since eternity bound by Maya unless we realize God. And in with relation to the first question, we are not perfect, but we can be perfect when we realize God. So that's how I see it.
It's a very good point. It's technical point where we say we are part of God. So if God is complete and paripurn in himself, then every part has to be paripurn in itself as well, right? So if you have a big stone, you take out a part of that stone, stone is perfect, that part will be perfect as well. So we're not direct part of God. We're actually part, fragmental part of his Jiva Shakti. Right. So even in our body, we have differences, right? You have nails, you have hair. So although it is part of your body, but there is still difference. So it is, it's a figure of speech when it is said that you are part of God. But we are a little different from, we are his Tatastha Shakti, so to say, Jiva Shakti. Yes, Himanshu?
Radhe Radhe, everyone. I also want to share my thinking about these questions, uh, especially like the last question, Vidhi and Nishid. So if we don't have Vidhi and Nishid, we will not be able, like, we need this guidance which will map, which will help all of us to navigate our lives. So that we can make choices which are actually beneficial for us, right? So if there is no guidance, then we don't know what actions to take, how to think, because we anyway are carrying so many tendencies, and we have been doing so many things where our minds are attached. We also get to know some proper conducts, right, and ethical standards and moral values because of these, and we can also resolve our doubts when we have these guidances available with for example, as Swamiji says that a lot of people say that it is not good practice to eat non-veg, as it is written in the scriptures that we should not eat non-veg, but that is not true. In scriptures there is only recommendation that there are 3 modes, and if you eat these will be the consequences. So that is a guidance. Now that is up to us what we want to do with that.
True.
And similarly, if we see other questions, all are in the same direction, that we are the doers at the end, because we are deciding. Otherwise, God will know when we will actually realize God, but God doesn't know that, because we are choosing what we want to do. And if I do something for 1 year, and I just do that for 1 year, then anyone can predict that on the second year, the first day, I will do the same thing, because I've been doing that for 1 year. Similarly, if we have been taking so many births, our tendencies and attachment will not go that easily until
Right.
unless we don't actually attach our mind towards God.
True. Very true. Good point, Himanshu. And yes, the Vidhi Nisheds are given in our scriptures. Just imagine if you were to drive without any traffic lights, how chaotic it would be. There are no traffic lights, and you are pretty much everybody is having a free run or free hit on the road. So Vidhi Nisheds are the traffic lights that our scriptures give us. Now, it is the onus is on us to know that. But then if we were to simplify on the path of devotion, Maharajji, see, that is why Maharajji is Maharajji, right? He actually simplified this very simply. He said, either you go with Vidhi Nisheds, there are tons of Vidhi and Nisheds in scripture. Do this, don't do that. In this situation, this is a better thing to do. In that, it is this. And in this, you should. So, how many you would figure out on your own, right? You can't be a walking encyclopedia of Vedas to know what is do's, what is don't. So, he simplified this formula for us, right? Raganuga Bhakti, he says, there is only one do and there is one don't. What is the do? Anything that takes your mind to God, Guru, that is do. What is don't? Anything that takes it away from it, nishedh. Simple. So next time any situation comes to your mind, easier said than done, okay? Just think about situations that you will be. Is it pleasing to God and Guru? Vidhi. Is it not? Nishedh. Cut it. So that is the thumb rule Maharaj Ji has given. Okay, it just simplifies life and it complicates your thought process as well. Okay, but it simplifies life. Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
There is an
Radhe.
interesting question from Komarji. He asked, like, what about the ex-president of United States or the founder of Tesla? Were they also sent on Earth for the good? Question
See,
mark.
yeah, possibly. See, they're not sent on earth. Now you are painting this with a broad stroke that, okay, your avatar happened for uplifting humanity. No, he may choose to get a particular task done through you. Selectively, maybe he may pick you because you have worked on your material skills and he says this guy is smart enough to bring about those batteries, solar powered batteries, which can run even a truck. So let me you take this guy, or this guy is smart enough who's going to take everything. Okay, I hope I'm not going to get sued on that. Every technology from every place and unify it under Windows. You know who I'm talking about. So now the Windows has become the go-to machine in every home, and people can, we can do so many things because now you don't have to worry about different software for different machines. So he unified the technology in a way, right? So God may choose based on your abilities. He may choose anybody to become his employee for a little bit, get the job done, and that doesn't mean you'll go to his golok after that. No, it doesn't mean that. He just got something get pushed to humanity through somebody, and it could be anybody. He may choose Bill Gates. He may choose Jobs, maybe a Tesla guy, but that doesn't mean they're saints, right? It could be anybody. But it's all God's ways of getting stuff done when he has to give a bit of a push to humanity. Yes, Pratyusha.
Radhe Radhe, sir. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
So regarding this, are we perfect? What I feel is, in nature, three gunas are there, right? For anybody who is identified as mind, intellect. And then there is something called gunatit, which is available if you are identified as soul, which is your true nature.
Mhm.
So, yes, if we are identified as soul, on every aspect of her, not partially, then I think at that time God is the only person who's telling us what to do, and we are His servant. At that time, probably we are perfect. Otherwise, the other three natures that we have, it is all tainted with karma. So whichever identification we have, like a sattvic person is superior because if we are walking on that line, then we get knowledge and happiness.
Yep.
As Bhagavad Gita says. Rajasic, if we want to enjoy things or at any level, money or food, then there will be pain, and as a result of that nature, which is tamasic, we get ignorance, more ignorance. So why doesn't God bear our karmic reactions? Because the soul chooses what he or she is identifying with. So that's second. Third is God partial? He is not selectively energizing us, right? So he's energizing everything. So, and he's obviously waiting, are we even trying for becoming a gunatit person, which is our real identity? So if we are not, then he's just wait. He's not partial. He's not going to inspire us to do,
Yep.
good or bad. We have to, because he has given that free will. That itself is it's a symptom of the soul. We are using that to do rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic things. So God is not partial. He's just, and
Right.
the last one is, why do we need do's and don'ts? See, even if we have a big list that we give to someone, you have do's and don'ts, you may not do it if you are not inspired enough. So he sent saints also. We see them and we get inspired and we do.
True.
And these are their words. So if we get inspired by them, the probability of us following, because we are from Kali Yuga, we need those things, we at least should try. So yes, it is important that we have that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pratusha. Line by line, you explained it and summed it up very nicely. See, if we were perfect, then every wish that we make or every desire we would make would perfectly align with God's will. And then there will not be any problems of the binding karma or the law of karma, working against us at all. Right? That's why there was a beautiful saying, right? Swamiji says that, "Meri chahi na karo, मैं मूर्ख अज्ञान तेरी चाही में है प्रभु मेरा कल्याण." We don't have our will aligned to God's will as yet. So what we desire, what we wish, um, if God were to fulfill all of that, then that is the worst thing he can do to us. We are on a self-destruct path for most parts of our life. Yes, Rahul, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Can we make few announcements about the Bhakti Kirtan retreat and the upcoming Kirtan challenge, the Kirtan challenge?
Of course we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay. If I can share the screen, I think then it would be.
Sure. It will be our extreme pleasure to do that, Rahul. So go ahead.
Yeah, let me know once you can see the screen, and then Sandhya ji can add. Yeah, required here. Yeah, I
Uh,
just wanted to show you a reel and then like how to upload those reels and participate in the Kirtan challenge. Yeah, go ahead, Sandhya ji.
Yeah, just like briefly, we have an ongoing Kirtan challenge where you can just sing 2 lines of your favorite bhajan. It can be a bhajan written by Maharaj Ji, but it does not necessarily have to be that. So you sing 2 lines and explain its meaning in English, and that's it. That's the video.
Do we
Uh,
have Vishwek?
we are going to show the video. I am just describing the challenge first, and that video needs to be uploaded on a drive whose link is given here, and we will also put it in the chat, and you can also upload it on your social media. So this is an ongoing Kirtan challenge leading to our Bhakti Kirtan retreat with Swamiji that's scheduled to happen next month. So would really appreciate everybody to participate in this challenge. And now we can just see one example of this by our very own Kerry ji, who is a devotee here at Radhakrishna Temple of Dallas.
Hari Radha Krishna mile abado Namarupe avatari Kirtana dharma prachari Radhe Shama Shama Sham Kirtana dharma prachari Radhe Shama Shama Sham. Oh Radhe Sham, 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 Radhe Sham. This passage means Sri Radha Krishna have united, and now the two have come as the beautiful golden avatar, preaching Kirtan Dharma. Radhe Sham, Radhe Sham, Radhe Sham.
Very nice. So Sandhya,
Radha.
basically, more than 2 lines are allowed, right?
Yeah, I mean, allowed, better, shorter, but up to people.
Okay. Multiples of 2, I think you meant, right? 2, 4, 6 probably. But yeah, shorter the better.
Yes.
Okay. That was very nice. Yeah, I would encourage all of you to participate in it. It's a unique challenge and good way to build a connect with Maharajji's bhajans, beautiful bhajans that are out there. Meenuji, we want to see your video very soon, and Vinodji's as well on this Kirtan challenge. iPhone 173. 173. Yes, please. 8 plus 3, 11. Go ahead, please. iPhone G.
Hi, okay, sorry, it's me, Preeti. I was going to ask for the link, but then somebody already put the link there, so I'm okay now. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Rahul, you wanted to add something?
No, I just wanted to add that the link and everything, the information is there in the chat. Yeah, so definitely check that out, and don't forget to register for the Bhakti Kirtan retreat, which is only 1 month away. Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, we are very excited to have that Kirtan retreat for the very first time here in Dallas. And that'll be 2.5, 3 days with Swamiji. And it's solely focused on bhakti and Kirtans only. So it is going to be a unique retreat, never before done here in US. So we are all looking forward to it and having Swamiji's personal association for those 2 to 3 days. It's going to be pretty intense and a very nice retreat. So do plan for it if you can make it. I think your accommodation and other things you can try to accommodate, as best as possible here with devotees out there. But do let us know in advance if you are coming. That way we can plan for it accordingly. Okay.
If we have time, we can do that.
We have 3 more minutes. Okay, we want to do what do you want to do, Shyamji? I don't.
The desert we can do if we have some time.
Okay, sure. Maybe a couple of lines. Maybe we can take maybe a couple of people. 3 minutes. We can do 2 people. That's good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So Bhakti Shatak is what we do. That's nice. We've gotten used to wrapping it up pretty quickly now. Let's do maybe 2 hands we can take.
Sandhya, you can
10 o'clock we
go.
have a hard stop anyways.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandhya. You can take 2 hands, Sandhya and Bhai.
Go ahead.
Sandhya, then Bhai, you can do that. Yeah.
जीव तटस्थ शक्ति पर माया कर अधिकार राधे राधे वस्तुतस्तु यह दास है स्वामी नंद कुमार राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे राधे Radhe Krishna Radhe.
Very nice. So this answers the question that came, right? Jeev Tatastha Shakti. So let me recite it quickly and then we can move on to the next session. जीव तटस्था शक्ति पर माया कर अधिकार राधे राधे वस्तुतस्तु यह दास है स्वामी नंद कुमार राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे. Okay, so with that we come to the end of today's session. And I'll hand it over to Ajay and Sunil Bhai if you're there. Riyaji, tomorrow you get the first opportunity to recite it. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow we don't have the session, day after. We are on time, pretty much on time now. So we'll hand it over to Sunil Bhai and Ajay if you are there. So thank you.
We are here.
I look forward to seeing you day after tomorrow. Not tomorrow. So stay blessed and have a great rest of your evening and great rest of your day. Thank you from my side. Radhe Radhe.